Math 3, Classwork 1.2, and it's time for Part B. I'm going to start this off with a story about a very sad little 2-year-old. Now, the stress of a 2-year-old. Imagine you're like, but I want to go play with my friends. And parents are like, no, you got to eat your vegetables. And you're like, ah. So maybe you see an older sibling and you're like, is there anything I can do to get older quick? Because I want to have fun. So you jump into an age making machine. Let's say you find the age making machine to work for being 5x plus 7. X being how old you are right now, Y being how old you are when you come out of the function. So you're 2. You're thinking, ooh, I multiply by 5, I go double digits. And you're like, yes, double digits. And then plus 7, you're like, oh, it's going to be a party here, going to have some fun. And then you find out, wait a minute, 17 years old. What am I actually doing? I am studying. I am overloaded with homework, and I just can't take it anymore. What can I do to come back? I just want to be 2 again. Tell me what to do. Don't let me go play with my friends. Just don't make me do all this homework. So, how are you going to reverse the process? You have to undo the most recent thing done, the plus 7. So first, you're going to take your current age of 17 and subtract 7. And now you're down to 10. And you're like, oh, almost there. What's the next thing to do? You had multiplied by 5. So now you need to divide by 5. And I just realized I wrote the wrong number there. Well, anyway. Divide by 5. And then that becomes the inverse function. And that is the story of the child who thought, I don't like being 2. I have to be told what to do. I want to have that kind of fun. Oh, but it's just not like that. Oh well. Okay, so now on to the serious business of math. So you can read over this, but the basic idea is to undo several operations. Your operations are undone by reversing the order of operations and undoing that operation using its opposite operation. And that's what we're going to focus on with this work. And I'm going to try to guide you through this example because there's a purpose for it. So over here on the left side, we're dealing with expressions. An expression 5 times x. You're going to do the operation in a forward direction when you need to evaluate an expression. So for example, if I let x equal 6, then I'm going to multiply that x by 5. And so if the x happens to be 6, then I'm going to get 30. Now, on the right side, it's an issue of having an equation, and how do you undo what is done to the x? So let's say you have a given equation, 5x equals negative 20. Well, if you solve the given equation, you do so by dividing both sides by 5. And that gives you x equals negative 4. But the primary thing that I want you to be focusing on is this: describe the operation on the given x to evaluate the expression versus describe the operation used to solve for x with an equation. So I want you to pause the video. Try out this second one. Okay, you are back. Now, let's see how that one plays out. So when x is equal to negative 12, you are looking at taking your x and you are literally dividing x by 3. That gives you negative 4. Over here, you're dealing with an equation. You want to undo the division by 3. Not do it, you want to undo it. So you're going to undo it by multiplying both sides by 3. Now, see if you can do the next one. Pause. All right, let's see. So, x minus 8 divided by 3. This is now getting trickier because you are dealing with two operations and the order matters. So, if you are just simply evaluating an expression by plugging a number in, you go through order of operations. Now, I want to point out that with this order of operations and this division sign, there's actually an understood parentheses that people don't always talk about. So you have your understood parentheses. That means that you do the parentheses first. So you first subtract 8 from x, then you divide by 3. Well, let's say you start with x minus 8 divided by 3 as one side of an equation. How do you isolate the variable x? You have to look at what is the weakest operation here. Keep in mind that there is a parentheses in disguise with that division sign. So parentheses is stronger than division. So you take the weaker operation, division, and you do its opposite operation, multiplication, first. So multiply both sides by 3, then do the opposite of subtraction and add 8 to both sides. So now, pause the video, try the next one. And you're back. So for the next one, we have x cubed plus 2 as an expression. Now, if you're plugging a number into the x, the first thing you do is the exponent 3. It's a stronger operation than addition. So you first cube the x, then you add 2. If you do that to x equals 3, 3 cubed is 27, plus 2 more is 29. Now over here on the right, x cubed plus 2 is no longer its own expression, it's one side of an equation. If you need to isolate the x, you have to go with what is the weakest operation. So between exponent and addition, addition is weaker. Undo that first with the opposite operation. Subtract 2 from both sides, then do the opposite of cubing, which would be cube root. Now, pause the video. Try the next one. And you're back. So, the very last one. I want to point out that there is another understood parentheses. If you have a root, it is understood that everything under that root is in a parentheses. So that means that the root, which is along the same order of operations as exponent, is a weaker operation than parentheses. So if you were to plug a number in to the x, you first do the strongest thing, the parentheses. Add the 2, become 11 plus 5 will give you 16. Then do the fourth root. Fourth root of 16 is what multiplies 4 times to make 16, 2. Now, the fourth root of x plus 5 is an expression on one side of an equation. To solve that equation, you have to undo what is done to the x. Instead of over here, and doing something to the x. So going backward, again, parentheses. The weaker operation is the fourth root. That has to be undone first. So put both sides to the fourth power, then subtract 5. And that will allow you to solve the equation and get x equals 76. I hope you enjoyed this classwork. The end.